Howdy you two. We're here watching the hardest gym leader in every Pokemon game. I see Whitney Miltank, so they have good taste. They are a man or woman, I don't know how they identify, of substance and culture. Pre-like for Whitney, baby. Pre-like for Whitney. SmithPlays Pokemon. This is the second video we're watching from them today. The first one, kind of a lie. So hopefully they pick up for this time.
Pokemon, there's always been one gym leader that beats you so bad you question your entire childhood. Today we're going to be finding the hardest
speed this
gym
up.
leader in every Pokemon game, starting with the original Red and Blue. Now, to be clear, today we're asking the question.
Okay, who do we think the hardest gym leader in Red and Blue is? I'm thinking, see, it could be Brock because he's the first gym leader and you don't have a lot to deal with it unless you picked Squirtle or Bulbasaur. Otherwise, you're going to have to... If in Fire Red Leaf Green, at least they gave Charmander, like, Metal Claw to kind of deal with it. But outside of that, you're going to have to, I guess, Mankey, if you caught a Mankey. But there's only one place to catch a Mankey, and if you didn't go left at some point, you probably didn't get the Mankey. Misty's actually kind of brutal, too, for early on, because she has that recover. Nothing past that is really that difficult. Because you have a ton of Pokemon by that point to deal with it. Surge isn't that bad. Erica is... Well, honestly, no. You still have a ton of things that you can deal with. I'm going to say Brock or Misty.
Which gym leader provides the most consistently difficult fight in the game? And to answer that question for Red and Blue, most people would first jump to Sabrina. The reason I emphasize consistency is because sometimes starters make fights way harder or easier, and some gym leaders just have easily accessible methods.
No, by the time you get to Sabrina, you have a Snorlax, and that's an easy win. Also, by that time, you have Lapras. You have bulky Pokemon that can easily deal with her, or just bug Pokemon who can easily deal with her.
That just completely...
And a ghost. You have a ghost by then, too.
trivialize any difficulty. Sabrina is not one of those trainers. For those uninitiated with Generation 1, all you really need to know is that Psychics effectively have no weaknesses, and this then combined with Alakazam's future special attack being its single special stat makes it a surprisingly bulky monster. There are some issues with Sabrina too, however. See, she won't always flex her power simply due to the game's horrible AI, and Alakazam only has one good attack.
Oh yeah, I forgot how OP Raticate is. Also, what was the other one? The Focus Energy one. Oh god, I'm blanking out on it. Sand Slash. I think Sand Slash has crazy crit.
Move, which is sometimes just hard for the AI to select. I've seen this thing go for a Reflect when it could have ended me, or even just spam Recover at full health. And while Sabrina may seem infallible, she's also extremely vulnerable to fast physical attackers. Charizard, Dodrio, Gyarados, Arcanine, Dugtrio, Scyther, Tauros, even Snorlax, Blastoise, Kangaskhan, Starmie, Hypno, and Alakazam are all Pokemon that do very well in this fight. And this makes me question the generally accepted idea that she is the strongest. And Gym 2's Misty is another trainer.
I think it's just because of the lack of weaknesses for the Psychics in the first gym that people think that. But honestly, there's a lot of things that can outbulk anything she throws at you, and it's not really an issue.
Worthy of consideration. For starters, fighting a Starmie at the second gym is just...
Yeah, it also has Recover, but you have a lot less to deal with it.
Ridiculous. Gen 1 Starmie also benefits from the single special stat, which gives it 100 special attack and defense. In modern terms, its 535 base stat is stronger than the final stage starters. And of all the gym leaders, Misty also happens to use X Defend, which is the rare case...
I forgot about her using X Defend. That's messed up. That is so wrong, the second gym actually using items like that. Why don't newer Pokemon games give you a challenge like that? Like, why don't they use X items? Like, that's literally why they banned items from hardcore Nuzlocke.
Where an X item actually benefits the leader. Outside of Ivysaur, your only decent options include Clefable, Oddish, Bellsprout, and Beedrill. And because...
What about Pikachu? You can have a Pikachu by the time you get to her.
Starmie has all attacking moves, there's less that can go wrong for Misty, which makes her more consistent than Sabrina. But overall, I do still...
Did he say Paris? You can also get a Paris before then. Paris is pretty good.
think Misty has a lower difficulty ceiling, even factoring in the point of the game. Sabrina shows more room for error, but this inconsistency lies in her choices, which are external to the player. You can bring the perfect team to Sabrina, and sure, it might go in your favor, but it's just as likely that she spams side beam and lands multiple 1 in 5 chance crits. Sabrina just has way higher potential, and no matter how the fight actually goes, you have to prepare for the worst. And so with all that
Well, to be fair, you shouldn't be bringing out a Nido King against the Psychic anyway.
said, I just hope that
Why you even brought that into the gym, I don't know.
this can add something new to what is an over 25-year-old conversation. If you guys enjoy these every game videos, please subscribe. But
I do.
regardless,
I really
Sabrina
do.
is the hardest trainer in Red and Blue. Now,
Nope.
in Pokemon Yellow, Pikachu makes Brock
Completely disagree. Completely disagree.
notably more difficult. He forces you to catch another Pokemon, but since Onix has extremely high defense, two of the game's best options, Mankey and Nidoran, their fighting moves don't overwhelm him quite like the Red and Blue starters. Brock is a serious fight, but certainly not the hardest. Now, of course, Pikachu does give you a slight advantage over Misty. Pikachu isn't even strong, but having a free electric type to get a Thunder Wave on Starmie can often be enough to guarantee a win. You can also pick up a free gift Bulbasaur and Cerulean for even more consistency. So basically, Misty stays the same, but you get more tools to make the fight easier. And while Sabrina may lose two Pokemon, in Yellow, she only gets stronger. Her true threats, Alakazam and Kadabra, both become level 50, despite the game's gym order and level curve being the exact same. And this makes it very realistic to be fighting Sabrina at a 15 level deficit.
Ew.
And so with such a big gap, her Alakazam is just so strong.
Thank
that
you
the
for coming,
likelihood of
Victoria.
taking
It was nice
it
having you.
becomes 0. And taking this matchup past 2
I will eat these
turns
nachos in your
does
honor.
everything to benefit Alakazam. With stats that outweigh the player, a Reflect into a Heal is very devastating, but then it also now has Psychic, which again has over a 1 in 5 chance of critting because of Alakazam and crit being
Still
based
got
on
that crit.
speed. And now with Psychic, she has a 30% chance to drop your special. I find with Sabrina, this higher level doesn't make her linearly stronger, but actually like exponentially harder. Sabrina is without a doubt the hardest fight in Yellow. Now you can't talk Generation 2 without first looking at
Okay, I will give him the yellow difference, especially since you get Pikachu to deal with Misty. I still think Brock is kind of tough because you have so few options for Brock.
the two-team terror that is Whitney. More than any trainer in maybe all of Pokemon, Whitney's Miltank is the embodiment of our childhood trauma over losing at Pokemon. It's a single-stage Pokemon at the 3rd gym that outweighs you in stats. It's got Stomp as the flinching stab move. It has Milk Drink to heal, a track to make all your male Pokemon, probably your starter, miss half of the time. And of course, there's its dreaded Rollout, which works up to
Roll out.
480 power by the 5th hit. Whitney is a true terror to the industry.
Gotta love Whitney. Whitney is so cute, but so terrifying, and I love her so much. She's my favorite gym leader.
Pokemon player. But that alone doesn't make her the hardest. And that's because the game actually hands you a lot of easy ways to beat her. Geodude, and especially Onix, the game's first available trade, are both guaranteed Miltank wins. Ninarena with Double Kick is just as effective. And let's also not forget that in Goldenrod, there is a guaranteed free traded theme.
Yeah, the problem is you have to know he's there and be able to catch an Abra for it.
Nail Machop that can basically
Abra's really hard to catch at this stage in the game, so calm down.
solo her. There's the Dig TM available, which completely neutralizes her rollout just north in National Park. You can use Bugsy's TM Fury Cutter to set up on Fairy or Faulkner's Mud Slap to just accuracy.
Yeah, but you have to go through a lot of trainers and way out of your way to get that dig, and you still have to know that dig is there to actually go get it. If you're a new player, you're not going to know any of this.
You drop Miltank. They even give you the rollout TM on the route directly north of her gym. The issue with Whitney isn't that she has no counters. Her difficulty comes from the fact that it's the first time where you really need specific ones. And Whitney is notorious for new trainers because they go into the fight with an average.
Well, to be fair, Bugsy before her has Fury Cutter, which also gains in strength. So that's kind of an issue because that's technically the first time you run into building power on a move.
Team that has no real strategy. And so with this, I'm left to question whether she is the hardest in the game, especially when Claire exists. Gen 2's 8th gym.
Claire was not hard. Claire was easy. You literally go through an ice path before you get to her. You can pick up your counter on the way to her. You have to go through it to get to her. There's no going around it. Whitney's counters are way out of the way in random places.
Leader Claire leads her team with 3 seemingly non-threatening Dragonair. With low stats, one Dragonair on its own is no problem. But all-knowing Thunder Wave, these things act as an amazing roadblock to cripple your Pokemon before the real fight begins. They also have great coverage, which is super tricky because sometimes you won't actually know which one she sends out. All of this simply serves to trip you up before the actual problem. Claire's Kingdra is, in my opinion, the true terror of Johto. And the first issue that people often forget about
That's the only problem on her team.
is the ridiculous level cap. Gen 2's level curve flatlines from gyms 5 to 7, and so as your team's been struggling along for XP, you usually enter this fight 10 levels below Kingdra. Even worse is that Kingdra has no weaknesses. Even by the 8th gym, Gyarados and Seadra's Twister are the only 2 available super effective moves, both of which are obviously terrible. Even if every Pokemon on your team has paralyzed Cure Berries, or Dragonairs have Thunder Wave, every single Pokemon on your team has Dragon Breath with a 30% chance to paralyze, and in Gen 2, even electric types can be hit with Thunder Wave. And unlike Whitney, there are no...
Yeah, but the electric types are faster, so it really don't matter. And you wouldn't be putting them out against Dragonairs anyway. Like, stop through the ice cave, grab a Jinx, and never lose that fight.
Simple counters to beat Claire. Whitney might be harder on a player's first attempt, but Claire is challenging no matter what. And
Never once. Not once has she ever been challenging.
it's for this reason that I truly do believe she is the hardest gym leader in Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Now, Generation
That's
3's
because you're
Sapphire
wrong and you don't know what you're talking about.
are notable for being much easier than the more popular Emerald. Looking back, some of these gyms are just very weird. Like Watson is searched.
Ruby and Sapphire are better than them. Emerald's a better game overall, but they made a big mistake replacing Stephen Stone as the... Like, Wallace is the champion in Emerald, which is freaking stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
2.0 with a team of 3 Kanto
Steven is iconic.
Pokemon. Flannery can be tough, but she's also rocking 2 Slugmas, and then Tate and Liza only have 2 Pokemon. So with all that...
But it's easy to be underleveled for those 2 Pokemon. And this is the first time a gym leader, actually it's the only time, a gym leader has been a double battle. So that's also a curveball you have to deal with.
Going on, I think it's actually Norman that is the strongest in Ruby Sapphire. He's got 2...
Agreed. No, Steven. Crap. Steven or Norman, honestly. Here's the thing. Everything he said about being able to deal with Whitney also applies to Norman. Again, Dig can get around both of his Slackings easily. So I don't understand why he would say Whitney's not, but Norman is, because it's the exact same strategy.
2 slacking in this game, and I'm very well aware that, you know, Protect basically just cheeses this fight. But, you know, it's not like you're just handed a Pokemon that learns Protect. And so, all things considered, although...
You are handed Protect and it gets learned by everybody. That's the exact same thing, if not better. Because you don't have to use that specific Pokemon. You can literally give the Protect to anyone, including Dig and Fly at this point.
There are definitely some holes to Norman's fight. I do think that in Ruby Sapphire, he is the hardest of the not so
Steven.
hard people. It's really Pokemon Emerald.
Oh, he is the hardest of the not so hard. Yes, I will give him that. Steven is the hardest of the hard.
That deserves the discussion. Where, for starters, Norman is significantly more difficult. His lead spin may appear easy, but its Teeter Dance and Encore actually make it a great lead to disrupt potential sweep setups. Next, Vigoroth is just great at simply getting damage on the board and depleting Pokemon's HP. There's also Linoone, which with Belly Drum and Solid Speed is capable of sweeping nearly any team at any time. And then you've got to deal with the Slacking, which, yes, sure, you can cheese it, but you still have all that other stuff to deal with before you even get here. Watson is another gym leader that absolutely demands respect. Unless you brought a Mudkip. He leads with a Voltorb that knows self-destruct.
Yeah, no. He's not hard.
7 levels before learning it. Then he's got a Magneton, evolved 8 levels before it should be. This thing's running Stab Shockwave with 120 special. This is putting Misty Starmie to shame. There's also Electrike, and then after getting through all of this, you have to deal with his Manectric. It can howl to set up for a lethal quick attack, and Thunder Wave is always there to cripple you. Watson is very reminiscent of Whitney because he has absolutely insane power for his point in the game. What makes Watson easier than Whitney, though, is that the solutions to beating him are just handed to you. Bayleaf and Grockna are actually quite good at soloing Whitney, but it's not quite as easy as just picking Mudkip and pressing the delete button.
Well, Mudkip solos the entire game. That's the real problem. Mudkip, if you're going to do a run and you want the easiest team possible, or you're doing a Nuzlocke, Mudkip is the way to go. Mudkip can solo the whole game for some reason.
There's also Geodude, Hariyama, Breloom, so Watson is either an incredibly difficult or incredibly easy fight. And Flannery is another one worth noting. If she sets up the sun, even Pokemon that resist Fire type will get one-shot by Overheat. Her Torkoal also has Attract and the White Herb to make...
The problem with that is, once you hit an Overheat, your special attack drops drastically, and then he's not doing nearly as much damage every time he uses it.
Things even more complicated. There's also Winona, whose whole team may not be super tough, but her Altaria...
The Altaria, that's a problem. That's an absolute problem. If it starts setting up, like, it can already do a ton of damage with Earthquake, but if it sets up even a single Dragon Dance, you're in trouble. If it sets up more than one, quit. Just quit. Just leave.
Alone is enough to sweep. If this thing manages to get just 2 Dragon Dances in, you lose. And actually, on that note, even Brawly can pull a sweep if he manages to set up Bulk Up. Now, of course, no list is complete without Tate and Liza. Probably the most well-designed fight in the game. There are so many factors that contribute to making this fight difficult. You've got Earthquake spam for Claydol, which only hits your...
It's also the surprise double battle that you're not expecting, because it's never happened before up until this point.
Your side of the field. There's Calm Mind setup, Fear from 2 hover Pokemon, Hypnosis from Lunatone, Sunny Day Solar Beam to catch Surf Spammers, Light Screen Confuse, right? It's a very complex fight. Tate and Liza are very difficult. But in fairness, there are a lot of Pokemon you can catch at that point of the game to deal with them. There's also Juan's Kingdra, which is probably the single most threatening Pokemon in the Gym League. But given how simple it could be to use setup strats on one of his 4 weaker Pokemon, I don't think he's consistent enough to deserve it.
Why would you even use a Love Disc? I don't understand. Like, if you wanted to do a Sweet Kiss Attract combo, there are other Pokemon who could have done it better, with better stats.
Title. Guys, I love Emerald. I could gush about how great these gym leaders are all day. The top is between Watson, Norman, and the twins. Watson is by far the most unfair fight, but his counters are just so strong and mindless that he is not a consistently difficult fight. Norman is insane, but I think he suffers from dig and protect strats, cheesing him also quite a bit. But even more so than Norman, there is really no time where I go into a Tate and Liza fight feeling certain. Yes, you can make a team that destroys Tate and Liza, but the sheer amount of planning that this takes only furthers their case. A winning Tate and Liza strategy just involves a lot more moving parts. Every gym leader in Emerald can be difficult, but Tate and Liza's fight is the most consistently demanding, and for that reason, they are the hardest gym leader in Pokemon Emerald. Now, in Fire Red and Leaf Green, the power of Psychic types decreases, while the game's AI finally surpasses a negative brain cell count. These changes result in what is a
Who do you think changed this time? Is he going to say Sabrina again?
ridiculously strong Misty. No longer can you lean on lucky AI decisions to cheat out an undeserved win here. Misty Staryu and Starmie also now have Water Pulse, which has a 20% chance to confuse the target. She also swaps Tackle for Swift so that you can't use Sand Cheese. Sand Cheese, you probably don't want to eat that. And if all that was...
I mean, you can still Sand Attack to make sure it uses Swift instead of the Water moves.
Isn't bad enough, Starmie now has Recover, so you can't even expect to reliably whittle down its HP with a big team. Fire Red and Leaf Green are known for being easy games, but this is one of the few...
Yeah, if you're going to Nuzlocke, these are the ones you want to Nuzlocke. They're, like, possibly the easiest ones.
...exceptions, and man, is it a big one. Misty is a monster in Gen 3, and takes the title of hardest gym leader. Now, moving into Generation 4, Fantina is notorious in Diamond and Pearl.
Okay, we're doing gym leaders. I was about to say Diamond and Pearl, it's easily Cynthia, but we're doing gym leaders, I forgot.
In these games, she is the 5th gym leader, and this not only allows for her to have a more competent team, but it's at a point in the game that is typical of seeing the player under-leveled. To lead, her incredibly tanky Drifblim has minimized strats. This is then combined with the risk of Omni Boost, starting the fight with just a massive level of uncertainty. Next up, you've got to...
Yeah, I hate Omni... Oh, my God. Ominous Wind is insane.
Deal with her Gengar, which, reminder, in Generation 4 has the ability to levitate. And sure, it may be using physical moves, but this thing is still a monster. And then, if all that wasn't enough, there's Miss Magius. With Shadow Ball, Psybeam, and Magical Leaf, it just feels like it's able to crush kind of everything. And combined with the level of uncertainty that Evasion, Omni Boost, and Confusion adds, it's...
Hold on. Is the Ice-type leader a gym leader or an Elite Four? Because I distinctly remember Frostlass being a pain in my butt.
The hardest gym leader in the game. Now in Platinum, some things change and some don't. Fantina becomes the 3rd gym leader, so her team does get weaker, but it actually detriments the player more. Because you're only at the 3rd gym, you have way fewer options. And because you're leveled in the 20s, your Pokemon won't be fully evolved, while her Miss Magius still is.
Oh,
so if anything,
crap.
Fantina might actually be harder here. Now in Platinum, Crasher Wake becomes the 5th gym leader, and people often say that he's quite difficult. Like, Gyarados can be a monster, but electric moves just make it so easy.
And there's tons of electrics in the game. One of the first ones you run into is a Shinx.
And then, yeah, out comes Quagsire, but all you need to deal with that is a grass type. And sure,
Any grass type. You can just spit on it as a grass type and the thing dies.
Floatzel is strong, but I don't think this team combines together to be near as threatening as Fantina. But there is also Candace, whose Frostlass is evil enough.
There it is. There it is. Frostlass. That is so mean. That Frostlass, evil.
to make it on this list. The strategy is a Bomb of Snow comes in third to set up Hail with Snow Warning. This makes Blizzard perfectly accurate, but Frostlass then takes even bigger advantage of this with its ability Snow Cloak. This makes all moves 80% of their original accuracy. It also knows Double Team to further take that down to 60% accuracy, 50% accuracy, and so on. She may be insane, but there are a ton of strategies that easily deal with it. And I think it's Fantina that still claims hardest gem. Now, Heart Gold and Soul Silver gem.
Fantina's never wiped a team. You know who does wipe teams? That Frostlass. That Frostlass ends Nuzlocke.
Leaders see a ton of improvements. Bugsy's Scyther gains the Technician ability while replacing the unreliable Fury Cutter with U-Turn. Unfortunately, the rest of his team kind of sucks, but this Scyther is still very scary. Another leader that's become more challenging is Mort. With the introduction of the physical special splits, Gengar's Shadow Ball is finally off using its pitiful attack stat, and Morty's entire team also benefits from now ignoring ground moves with Levitate. Claire also sees some changes, but I'm not sure if they really benefit her. By Gym 8, her now lead Gyarados is all but a free kill, and her Dragonairs will still try to cripple you, but with one less, berries become much more reliable, especially because everything loses Dragon Breath. Outside of that, the game's level curve is...
Why? They're dragons. Have a dragon breath. Come on, man. Do they have any dragon moves?
Balanced better, so you should be closer to her level.
Yep,
Dragons
Dragon
are
Balls.
still
Okay.
incredibly strong in this game, but looking at the big picture, Claire suffers. And so, unfortunately, like the cool kid that you hoped peaked in high school, Whitney stays winning. Whitney now has
Yes!
Scrappy to hit goes with Stone,
Our girl.
a Lumberry to stop it from getting crippled. Clefairy also gains Q-Charm, which adds an additional level of uncertainty. Now, Whitney does lose one level while the player gets slightly more XP, but this is negated by all her buffs. And sure, there are a few more tools to fight her, but while Claire gets worse, Whitney stays on par or even gets better. And so for that reason, I will accept that in Generation 4, Whitney is the hardest gym leader.
That's what we came here for. Whitney confirmation, baby.
Now, in Black and White, Lenora is the second gym leader, and
Oh. Pain in the butt. Pain in the butt. Love the Watch Hog and her. I love her hair, love her style.
she tends to blindside most new trainers. This may be the hardest second gym of all time. Her lead herdier has Intimidate with Takedown, and the Watch
Let's note how all the normal types are pains in the butts, headaches even. I know I used to be a normal type gym leader in multiple convention Pokemon leagues, including at some point I got promoted to Elite Four because so few people actually beat me. They were like, okay, well, we need people to actually get to the Elite Four, so we need you in there.
Watchog is just downright cruel. Upon herdier going down, Watchog can come in to land a double power Retaliate. At 70 base, this move becomes not just 140, but actually 210 after its normal same type attack bonus. So basically, any Pokemon that doesn't resist this dies. It's also got great stats, Crunch, and Hypnosis. But Elisa is another notorious fight. She has two flying electric Emolgas, which are immune to ground and not weak to electric. Their typing alone makes them very tricky to deal with, since there are few good rock types at this point in the game. And this is even before we get to the main thing, which is Volt Switch. You send off a rock move to hit Emolga, it Volt Switches into Zebstrika. You use a ground move to hit Zebstrika, it switches to Emolga. You get the idea. And a lot of people will note that there are tons of ground encounters that completely neutralize her electric moves. And while that does stop her main
Isn't Clay also awful in these games? I feel like there's a ground type, and I'm pretty sure leader, and I'm pretty sure it's Clay that gives people a lot of problems with the Excadrill.
strategy, it's still not enough, because these Pokemon will still take a beating from Emolga's Aerial Ace. And worse, because they have static, it's very likely that your ground type will get paralyzed before it can take on Zebstrika. And Zebstrika is a very strong Pokemon on its own. Elisa has a very tight strategy. And while there are ways to beat her, she always requires consideration. And for that, she is the hardest gym leader in Black and White. Now, in Black and White 2, Elisa trades an Emolga for a Flaffy, and this really hurts her skill. Now, we didn't mention him before, but even
But
in
it's
Black and
cuter.
White,
Clay.
is
There
a
it is.
trainer
There it is.
worthy of concern.
There it is, Clay. Yeah, I remember watching some Nuzlocke, and people were very, very scared of Clay.
In Black and White 2, it's not so much that he steps up, but more so your options for Pokemon step down. Also, Lenora leaves and Elisa gets worse. Now, Cleve's team in 2 is weaker, but outside of the starter, there aren't a ton.
No, in all fairness, Lenore leaves, but Sharon is also awful because he's like the first one, and you have nothing to deal with the normal types. So it's just you and whatever starter you have trying to figure out what the crap to do against this thing that keeps setting up against you.
Of options to deal with them. So overall, I kind of think Black and White 2's gym leaders struggle. And a lot of that is simply because you're comparing them to their stronger selves in Black and White. And this leads me to question whether the hardest gym leader is actually Charon. He may be the first, but setup strategies
There it is. Called it. There it is.
this early in the game are actually quite strong. Like, it's impressive how capable a first gym leader is of being able to sweep the player. And while I say this with uncertainty myself, I think Charon gets title of hardest gym leader. Now, Black and White 2 is still not an easy game, but its follow-up title, X and Y, certainly are. You've got Viola, who's
Okay, this one... See, this was tough. None of them really stood out as difficult, except for the fairy type for me. But that's just because I was new and I didn't know how to deal with fairy types as well.
Difficulty is on the ground that she's the first gym. Corinna has a decent team, I guess, but it's right after you get a Mega Lucario. I have a tough time caring about this one because I don't like X and Y. But like, maybe it's Valerie.
Valerie. That's the one. That's the one I was talking about.
A fairy type in the game that fairy type was introduced. Look, X and Y is just so easy. Comment down below what you think is the...
Yeah, it's so easy because of the experience share for the first time, giving all Pokemon experience. It lets you over level pretty much everything.
Hardest gym leader. And I will choose the best comments and send you a free box of cookies on Amazon. Oh man, now we got Oraz next. Okay, let's try to get through this one like relatively serious. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, mostly everything gets wrecked by the Lotties, which really limits us to gym leaders 1 through 5. With one Geodude and Nose Pass, Roxanne is a joke. Brawly can threaten the player with Bulk Up, but he loses 2 levels. Like, I'm sorry, why did we choose to coddle these children? Now, next, Watson tries to be Elisa with Volt Switch strategies, but every member of his team gets wrecked by ground. And while Flannery's Torkoal is threatening Slugma and Numos.
So it's come back to Norman again, got it.
And so by simple process of elimination, I think it once again goes to Norman. Now in Pokemon Sun and Moon, I think gym leader fights are more closely represented by the totems rather than the kahunas. And it's a much interesting question. With
Araquanid. Araquanid gave me so much trouble when I was doing it.
Sun and Moon, the Mimikyu fight is one that's extremely tricky. It's a hard-hitting Pokemon to begin with, but also gets a free hit on the player. And the fight is also made really difficult by the fact that it's only weak to Ghost and Steel types, both of which are quite difficult to come by. But let's obviously not forget about Lurantis. To begin, its aura gives it +2 speed, while it has
I don't remember having a big problem with Lurantis. Araquanid was the one that gave me all the issues.
Solar Blade. It can also call an ally cast form to set the sun for it. Solar Blade becomes 1 turn, while Synthesis then heals 2/3 health. X Scissor hits super hard, and if all that wasn't scary enough, its Leaf Guard prevents all status conditions when sun is up, so you likely can't even triple it. Lurantis is similarly insane in Ultra Sun and Moon. Here, the ally Trumbeak is replaced with Comfy, which also knows Sunny Day, only making the fight.
Oh, that's mean. That is mean.
And arguably one of the hardest fights in the Pokemon franchise. Now, Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu are another set of extremely easy games.
None of them. No one is difficult in this game.
So it's no wonder that there isn't much competition.
Especially with the friendship mechanic, where Pokemon just dodge moves or don't die because they love you so much.
Koga actually sees a notable improvement with Protect Toxic strategies, but it's not quite enough to claim the crown because Sabrina just brings such a competent team here. She's got solid type diversity with Jinx and Slowbro, good stats. Yeah, Alakazam only has Psychic and Nightshade, but it doesn't matter. Sabrina returns to her pedestal as hardest gym leader in Let's Go Eevee Pikachu. Now, if we're talking Sword and Shield, we should probably talk Rayhan. This is a double battle, which makes it instantly harder because the player's team isn't optimized for this format. He leads a Gigalith with Sandstream, which sets up Sandstorm, giving it an additional 50% special defense.
Which one gave me problems? I think the fire type is the only one that might give me a problem. Whoever that was. I don't freaking remember. I don't care. It only gave me a problem because I was going through the game using only my shiny Mawile. I bred it before the first gym because they were stupid enough to give me the breeding facility and then also Wonder Special whatever trade. I like when it was called Wonder Trade. I don't know why they keep changing the name of it. But they gave me that and the breeding facility before the first. So naturally, I had about 100 hours in the game before I even actually played the game. And I had shiny, and I had most of my team was shiny. I had the shiny Galar and Slowpoke because it took me so long with all the breeding that I was doing. I was enjoying it so much that the game kept looking more and more boring for me. That the event with the Galar and Slowpoke came out, and that same day I had a shiny Galar and Slowpoke because I took that through the game with me. We couldn't even evolve it because the DLC hadn't come out yet, so I just had a shiny Galar and Slowpoke in my team. But I went through the entire game with a shiny Mawile, and the only thing that gave me a problem was the fire guy, and I still killed it because Earthquake.
hits. Flygon is the paired lead. It has Thunder Punch to deal with water types and Steel Wing to handle Fairy and Ice. His Sandaconda can also...
I want to say I used Iron Head on all these guys. Because I had Earthquake, Iron Head. I'd probably use Earthquake on Gigalith. Earthquake, Iron Head, Play Rough, which is... And then probably Earthquake, Duraludon. And then what was the last one? I think False Swipe for catching Pokemon. Basically, my Mawile did everything in that game.
also activates Sandstorm, Sandspit, and lastly, of
Might have been Crunch. Hold on. I usually give it Crunch, so I feel like I give it Crunch.
course, his Duraludon is just an absolute
Duraludon.
monster. Like, to give you an idea of how crazy this fight is, we did a video where we simulated every single major trainer fighting each other, and this team was so good even in singles that it ranked higher than his champion cup team. Listen, sure, yeah, I know, Opal, questions, okay, I'm sorry. It is just no question, Raihan is by far the hardest gym leader in Generation 8. Now, in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Fantina is on par with her Diamond and Platinum team, but the game offers more tools to deal with her, making her overall slightly easier. At the same time,
the experience
third
share
leader,
once again destroys this.
Maylene becomes kind
And you're given a Mew and a and a Jirachi at the beginning of the game.
of cracked. Like, Lucario was always difficult to deal with, but it gets Drain Punch equipped with a Big Root, making what was before just an offensive weapon actually quite hard to take out. So I really respect the Maylene fight, but at the end of the day, I think it still has to go to Fantina. Now, Legends Arceus doesn't have gym leaders. I suppose if you counted Volo, he would obviously get the title, but you probably shouldn't. So I think most fairly, the title goes to Komodo. Is that fair either? I don't know.
I don't remember any of the fights. I remember catching Pokemon and hunting shinies, and I don't remember anything else about actually fighting or the story.
Arceus is hard to deal with, so please just leave me alone. So let's move on to Generation 9 with Scarlet and Violet. Now, the Psychic Leader Tulip...
You know what? Did I
strong,
add
and I
Legends
actually think
Arceus
this
to
has
my
a
list
lot
of
to do
Pokemon
with
games
her
to play?
secondary fairy typing. And while she has a pretty serious team, I don't think she's that consistently difficult. I would argue the Larry Gym fight is much
Not that
harder.
consistently
The Sonic Raptor
difficult.
is definitely a machine. But of all the game's gym leaders, it is once again coming down to that damn Miss Magius. A Watcher lead to counter ground types, followed by a defense-boosting Belly Bolt.
Okay, yeah, that Miss Magius. Absolutely annoying. 100% agree.
Gun, and then an Intimidate Luxio. This is everything you have to get through to then finally deal with a Terra Electric Miss Magius. A final stage Pokemon with no weaknesses at the third gym.
No
Ladies and gentlemen, it is for these
weaknesses.
reasons that Iono is the hardest gym fight in Scarlet and Violet. Thank you guys so much for watching
I
and
wouldn't say that.
making it all the way through. Please subscribe. And I will
Okay,
see
I
you
did
later.
add Legends Arceus. Good. All right, let me know down below, who do you think was the toughest boss? Out of all of them, not just by region, but like all of them all together. Which one gave you the
the
most
beginning of
problems? I don't know which one I'd say gave me the most problems. I feel like I'd have to think back to where I originally started the game and didn't know what I was doing. That feels like a big issue. I think these days I don't really have a problem with most of them. Iona did give me some issues with that Miss Magius, though, and that's the closest thing I've had. But I'd say... Maybe Whitney. Because I always forget how tough... Or Norman. I always forget how tough they are until I actually get there and I'm like, oh yeah, Pokemon used to be good. Okay. Claire has never been a problem. I don't know what he's talking about. Leave a like, comment. Go ahead and subscribe if you liked what you saw. Apparently, YouTube has changed the rules so that now you don't count as a viewer unless you actively engage. That's cool. Cool. Thanks, YouTube. You suck. I'll catch you later. Stay safe. Stay awesome. Stay hydrated. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Love and nachos, baby bears. Love and nachos. Mwah.